Hello and welcome to another edition of Convict Inc. I'm your host, Robert Rosso. My little clicker thing that shuts my phone on and off is broken. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. If you like this video, please push like and share it with your family, neighbors, friends, enemies, etc. It is July 5th, Tuesday, about 1 o'clock, and I'm having a very slow start to this day. Ate way too much food yesterday, and I'm just like, woke up early. One of my friends woke me up, friend that I know woke me up, trying to get me to go get some wood for this house, and I had things to do and ended up falling back asleep and was woken up by my sister at like 11, just totally off balance thing. Anyway, I'm going to call this one Burning Brian, and it is a scumbag move on my part. I did one called Beating Bug or Burning Bug, whatever, where the guy, I owed him a lot of money when he went home, and I felt very little remorse for it, or because of the way he treated others, and just different factors. This one's totally different. This was a bad one on my part. 2012, I arrived at FCI Terre Haute from the Butner complex because the staff at Butner just wanted to get rid of me. They were tired of my media contacts. They were tired of media requests. They were tired of my emails, sometimes 600 emails a day, and they had to monitor me, and they just wanted me gone. So they sent me to FCI Terre Haute, which was a medical type facility, but it's not. What makes a prison a medical facility in the Bureau of Prisons is the access to the outside hospitals, not necessarily what they're doing inside the prison. So in Terre Haute, there's many hospitals in the community, which will then make it a medical facility, if that makes sense. Again, I'm having a little slow start to the day. I'm having a bad brain day as well. Anyway, got there in 2012, and about 2013, started talking to a guy named Hawaiian Brian. Hawaiian Brian, from Hawaii, not Hawaiian, but he looked Hawaiian and spoke the Hawaiian dialect. I believe he was born and raised there most of his life. So for all intents and purposes, he was Hawaiian. I believe Brian had a 17-year sentence, and it included some robberies, drugs. I believe it was mainly robbing businesses. I want to say it was a Hobbs Act. I forgot exactly what it was, but he had a 17-year case. Brian came in the federal system pretty young. He would not be offended by me saying he was one of these ice heads at once upon a time in Hawaii. Hawaii, had a bad ice problem, methamphetamine/ice, and he was one of them. Came in real skinny, like I said, just a kid. Brian, I believe when he first came in, and I didn't know him but I believe he got into the hustles in prison as far as making wine and stuff. I don't know, but by the time I really met him, he was starting to program. Not as programming as much as he can be, but he still hustled on the side. He'd get himself involved in, the tobacco hustle that had some money. You can make quite a bit of money in it. And he ran a store, and his store grew pretty big. Now, for those of you that do not know what a store is in prison, inmates go to the commissary, they buy whatever, candy bars, whatever, at full price, then they put them in their cell, and then guys will come to them, and then they will sell them for 50% profit, 25% profit, whatever it may be. Also, so for example, let's say that I'm going to Brian to buy a candy bar. The candy bar he bought for $1, he is going to charge me $1.50, and I can pay that in two ways. I can pay that with stamps, which was currency, or I can run a store bill. I ran store bills. I ran big store bills. I've said this before, mostly because I will eat all the junk food in my locker. So if I bought a candy bar from Brian, which he paid $1 for, I'm paying $1.50 when I go to the store. Also, since Brian was a hustler and had his hands in a little bit different stuff, not drug trade, but like tobacco and stuff like that. He was constantly a hustler, and he had a lot of stamps. I also bought stamps in bulk. Now, here's the way it worked. FCI Terre Haute had a really weird stamp system. Normally, in most prisons, a book of stamps is 20 stamps. For some reason, in FCI Terre Haute, a book of stamps was 10 stamps. The value of those stamps depended on the person who was selling them. So, if I bought a book of stamps from, let's say, Brian, he might charge me $4 a book for that stamps. The next guy might charge me $5 a book for that stamps. Why would I want stamps? Mostly because I would go and buy or contraband with it, whether that's drugs, whether that's kitchen food. And I usually bought bulk of stamps. That's like 100 books of stamps. And I'd get like, $400 for 100 books or whatever. That's kind of like how it is. I need to really do a video on the stamp hustle. Anyway, Brian and I developed a really good relationship, a business relationship. That is, he had a store and I can get anything I want from him. And also he sold stamps and I bought stamps a lot. Well, we had a relationship that went on a number of years, like 2 really. And I will say this, Brian could be moody at times. He could be. But at the same time, when you got people bothering you all the time, or people that are promising to send you money and they don't, and this and that, you get a little moody. My thing was, and I'll say it over and over again, people always knew I was going to send them money. If you're going to deal with me, you're going to get your money. However, sometimes I would be slow, and that's because either I ran so much bills, or I was trying to get the people who are sending money on the streets coordinated. Mom most of the time, my wife, friends. I had people that would send money to me and to other people if I asked. It's just a fact. Now, people who really hustled in prison, and that is they had a store so they can make money that is real cash money that they wanted to send to the street, or they were selling drugs, or they were selling tobacco. Their ultimate goal was to turn the hustle money or stamps into street money or money that was put on their books. At FCI Terre Haute, during this time period I'm talking about, we can send money via MoneyGram, and we can send money off our books called a 199 form. And the way that works is you go to the computer. We had an inmate computer system. You type in like, okay, I'm going to take X amount of money off my prison account. I'm going to send it to this address. The address had to be on your contact list. So, because I'd sent Brian so much money, I had an address that he gave me on my contact list. So, this is how it would work. Well, if I was going to send MoneyGram, I had to have an approved email contact list of his or whoever, and then I would send money to that email contact list, okay? So MoneyGram, the way MoneyGram in prison works is, like, let's say John Smith or Gene Smith, and then their email address, right? It'd be approved through the prison. Once it's approved through the prison, we can go on the MoneyGram, straight onto MoneyGram, and we can send money to that email address, and they would get it within a couple of hours. And then the person on the street would have to pick it up. I don't recall if I did that with Brian to be exact, but I do know that I had an address where money was sent to. Sometimes my family would send money to his account. Sometimes my family would send money straight to the address of his choosing in Hawaii or wherever it was. And sometimes I would send money from my prison account. Guys liked people to send money from their prison account because they can see that money came off your books, and they can see when the money goes out. Usually took anywhere from 3 to 10 days. Actually, it could be anywhere from 3 days to 3 weeks, depending. In my case, I developed a trust with most people where nobody really questioned looking at my account. And I think that even the people that maybe not liked me would agree to that. So, and this goes in line with the story I'm about to say. There was a time when I owed Brian, he would give me anything I want. So he'd give me 100 books for $400 or whatever. So I might owe him $400. I might have $300 in the mail going to him, however it worked out. So I would go onto my computer and I would say, okay, $100 to Brian's, to this address attached to Brian. I would then push print. I would have to go in the hallway and get this slip, okay? This is the 199 slip. I had to take that 199 slip, and then I'd have to give it to my counselor, who would sign it, and I would sign it, and they would sign it, and then they would send it to the inmate trust fund, who would then take it off your account. So let's say I was going to go do a money slip for Brian. I'm just using this example. I'd go print the slip in the hallway, come back and say, all right, bro, here it is. All right, so I've signed it. I'm going to go to the counselor. Okay, all is well. Now, when you do that on the computer, when you push the money slip and print it, it turns black, okay? When the money actually comes off your account from the trust fund, it turns red or orange. This is important for this story. Now, let's say that I gave my counselor the money slip, and let's say Brian, I'm just using his name as an example since the story is about him. Let's say that me and Brian go to the office together. He's acting like he's there for somebody else. He sees me give my counselor this money slip. He sees me sign it, okay? Now, let's say that I don't want to send him, or I'm trying to beat him or trick him. He sees me give the money slip. I can go back to the computer 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 days later, as long as the trust fund doesn't take the money off, and I can push a button and delete it, and that money is no longer going to him. He might not know none the better if he doesn't check my account. And herein lies the heart of the story. Brian was being transferred back home to Hawaii. He really didn't want to because he had it really, really, really going on at the prison. He was the head commissary guy. He just had a lot going on. He had a really good routine. There was weights at that prison. Brian went from a little skinny, scrawny kid to really cut up, good looking dude, just a, muscular, he was all about fitness. Really, really well-balanced guy, straight up. And like I said, he wasn't into drama, didn't want to go around fight, wasn't trying to be a tough guy. And he had his respect on the compound, and he dealt with people that he knew were going to handle his business. Because I ran, during times when I was getting high, there were periods when I would, but I wouldn't. Brian, I'm sorry, not Brian. There were times when I'd pull moves. So let's say that I owed $2,000 on the compound, right? So let's say that I'm having trouble sending money here, sending money here. There were times when I went and I told guys, yes, I'm sending you money. Here's the slip, I'm sending to my counselor, and I went and deleted it the next day. There were times when I did that. Always paid them, but I was trying to maybe use that money so I can send it to somebody else so I can get dope that day, or so I can get food that day, whatever the case may be, because there was always different scenarios. On one occasion, I sent money to Brian that I did not delete from my books, and it never went red. It stayed black. So it was like, let's say I sent him $100, and when the trust fund took the money off my books, it never switched to red, to orange. So you can look at all the transactions an inmate does, and you can see, okay, this is the day you took money off your books and gave it to the counselor, and this is the day the inmate trust fund released your money from your account. That's what it really is, the released. And one time it did not turn red, but yet it was released, which is not normal. Of course, bing, as an addict, this makes me think, oh, I can pull a move. And it was not necessarily towards Brian. I found out that Brian was leaving. Brian was getting transferred, okay? I owed Brian money and he was getting transferred. Now, at no time did I ever have an intent to beat this guy. This guy was really, really good to me, and that's the God's honest truth. There's people that I would pull a move on or take a shot on, especially if I knew there was going to be no violence. Like, when it comes to Brian, like, there was never going to be the chances of there being any physical drama over, let's just say I didn't want to pay him, were slim. Not because he was a punk or a bitch, because he was trying to remain clear conduct, as was I, believe it or not. And he would rather just say, F you, than get into the drama. And that's the truth. Here's what happened. It was right before he left. I had sent him money, told him that I'd sent him money. He had money coming from the street, from my family to his family, and then money coming off my books. I was sending him money. I owed him like, maybe, let's just say $1,000. I don't remember what it was. And let's say I sent 1,000 from, 400 from my account, 300 from my mom, and 300 from a friend. I'm just gonna use that as an example. I do not know if that's how it was. But here's what happened. Brian was getting ready to leave, and the money that I sent from my account was like 3 weeks old, and it had not gotten there yet. Now, he was gonna leave like within a few days, right? So for whatever reason, he started thinking maybe I was trying to beat him or whatever the case was. And sure enough, what I had done, this was a $400 bill, $400 money. What I had done probably a week prior to this was I gave the money slip into my counselor, I was sending it to him, and then another deal came up, and I was on Suboxone at this time. I deleted the money. So in other words, the money that I was gonna send Brian, I took off, so it was never coming. Money came from him from other sources, but I still owed him this $400. Again, this was not, I would say it if it was now especially, this was never an intent to beat him. So when he was coming to me and saying, hey Rob, my person didn't get this money yet. Hey Rob, my person didn't get this money yet. I'm like, it's gonna get there, don't trip. Yeah, it's just running late. What I was doing was I was having somebody from the street send this money, but I had to buy like a week time or whatever. It was like a week. I forgot, there was an issue, but there was always, when I deleted that money from him, it was going to be sent to him via the outside rather than from my inmate account. I hope I'm making very clear sense. Well, it was like on a weekend, and it was right before the computers get turned off at 10 o'clock. And Brian comes to me and he says, Rob, can I see your account for a minute? I'm like, huh? So let me see the account where the money came off. So in his mind, he's like, oh, this guy's playing me for whatever reason. Maybe I think he knew that I was running a little deep at the time. Maybe somebody else said, Rob owes me money and they're slow. Who knows how it happened? I give him my account, I walk away. The account gets shut off because the computers got shut off because it was 10 o'clock and we had to go count. After count, he comes to me and goes, hey, can I see the account? I turn it on and I leave. And he says, hey, listen, this money didn't come off your account, you deleted it. And I said, no, I didn't. I lied to him. I was lying to him, straight up lying to him. So what I wasn't saying is, no, it's gonna come from the street, but I'm just not telling him because I didn't want to get caught in this lie. And this is the God's honest truth. So I said, now remember, there was an instance where money did come off my account, but it didn't turn from black to orange like it normally does. And I don't know why to this day. So I said, look, remember the money I just sent you, the $200, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah. And I go, look at this. So I showed him where it never turned orange. So he's confused because he knows he got that money from my account and he can see where I sent it, the day I sent it, but it didn't turn from black to orange. And again, we're looking at a computer screen. Once you give the slip to your counselor, it's black. Once it comes from the inmate trust fund, it comes off your account, it turns orange. Mine never turned orange, but my money left the account on this one occasion. So I was using this. Look, so this is the same thing. And he's like, not buying it, but is, okay, so what happens is he feels like he's being played. And he was. He was absolutely being played that, but he did not know the longer term goal I had. So he comes up to my room and aggressively, and which he had every right to, and I had a room all the way in the back and I didn't have lockers on my floor. I had them in the corner. So I had like a boxing ring, if you will. And there was an occasion where me and another guy that was a friend went up there and slung him. When Brian came up there defensively, I then turned defensive. Again, I'm in the wrong, straight up in the wrong. I turned defensive and we get into it where he comes up right here, I get into his face and we square off basically and word each other, and now the names come. from me primarily. He wasn't calling me names. He was just wanting, he was more like, I've been good to you. Why are you doing this? And I'm like, what's up, bitch, or whatever. I'm saying bad shit to him. And that's my guilty conscience. And let me tell you what I saw. And I don't mean to say this. Brian was a cut up kid, big, thick kid, lifted weights, And I don't think he'd ever been into a fight really with his new body strength. And meaning, when he came to prison, he was an ISID. He was a skinny, scrawny kid. And I think he was unsure of himself, to be honest. And I'm not saying this in a bad way. I get it. No, I mean, it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying this in a bad way. I saw him not confident, like thinking, he wanted to fight. Like, there was a part of him. He didn't want to get in trouble, but he was so angry because he'd done me so right. And he had every reason to be angry. Every reason in the world to be angry. No bullshit. So what happens is, I saw that break. Being in prison, you read body language. And I saw that doubt he had in his eyes. And what I saw was he didn't really realize that he'd grown into a man with man's strength. I saw in his eyes that he was still an unsure kid that came to prison like an ISID that was, and I'm not trying to say ISID to put this guy down. I'm just saying that's what, when he came to prison, he was a scrawny, probably not much strength, but he had grown into a man, and he didn't know his own strength, and his own strength probably could have knocked me out, Well, I've got knocked out by a guy that was 5 foot tall and skinnier. So what I'm saying is he underestimated himself. And when I saw that, I took full advantage of that and challenged him even more. And what he was hurt more than anything. So he left the cell, not saying cowardly or backed up. He just left because he's like, basically fuck it, he's leaving. But it wasn't over by no means. Over the next several days, he came back and tried to talk to me and says, look, and I know you might be having financial problems. I get it. So he even said, rather than send me 400, send me 250. I stuck to my story. I stuck to the 400s being sent, blah, 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 lied. At this point, so I'm like, well, fuck it. We already had the fight, screw it, man. Fuck this dude. I already won. If he wants to fight, we'll sling him. Fuck it. That was my mentality. Totally wrong. Totally wrong. I shouldn't have done this to a friend. He was a friend. In the prison sense, it's not that we're going to kick it, but he did know a lot about my personal life. We talked. So he was a friend. But he just said, if you're having problems, tell me, da-da-da-da. And I stuck to my story all the way to the end. Brian got transferred. And when he got transferred, he kept in contact with some people in the prison, a really good friend of mine. And he's like, hey man, Brian wants to know if you're gonna pay him, blah, 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 da, da, da. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to, and then never did. When I got out of prison, and the same friend that he contacted said, hey man, Brian's out, blah, blah, blah. He's on this social media thing. I wrote him and said, I did you wrong, blah, blah, blah. Reach back out to me and I'll take care of you. $400 I owe him. He has not reached out to me. He is on my thing. So to this day, I have not, and I am here to say that I will take care of that, Brian, because I know you're going to see this video. As of right now, today, when I wrote you, I had the money to send. And I was told by our mutual friend that now's not the time, maybe because of probation or something. So I didn't want to push it. That's the truth, and you can ask him. And you know who I'm talking about, your old Selly. So that's what happened. Today, $400 would be a problem for the next couple months because we're scratching for money for medical costs and all kinds of crap. But I'm here to say, Brian, total scumbag move. That was one of the ones, I pulled moves in prison in my life. That was the one that eats at my conscience the most, and that's the God's honest truth. No bullshit. And I will take care of that. I would have within those couple weeks if you would have reached back out to me. And I talked to your Sally about it, and he knows I did. And it really comes down to the fact that how good you were to me. How good you were to me. And you were. Straight up, bro. You were. So, sincerely apologize for the scumbag move. And looks like you're doing really good. I can see in your face, looks like you're doing really good. And that's something to be proud of. You don't want to go back. And you know all that stuff, bullshit. So, I call this one Beating or Burning Brian. And this was one of those things. So there you go. That's prison stuff. This goes back about 4 to 5 years. And yeah, wish you the best. You'll see. There'll become a time when, not too long. Matter of fact, when I sell the house, I'll take care of you on that. Should probably send you an extra 100 too. Bye.